Hello and welcome to the Atomic Impact Podcast, designed to help business owners and leaders with short atomic episodes to impact your business for marketing, sales, business growth, personal growth, and much, much more. I'm your host, Jason Osborne, and I'm looking forward for your business and life to be positively impacted by this podcast. And as a thank you, just for listening, I'd like to give you free access to my LinkedIn mini course to help you get on the right track with LinkedIn to generate high quality leads without being spammy. All you need to do is go to www.impactforleads.com to get immediate access. Now, let's jump into today's episode. Hey, it's Jason Osborne here again with the Atomic Impact Podcast. And listen, I've been looking forward to this. I met Matt through LinkedIn, actually, probably the middle of last year. And we've had a few chats, and I couldn't wait to get Matt on the show. Matt Crump is basically, you name it, he's done it. So entrepreneur, coach, consultant, marketing advisor, branding advisor, public speaker, everything. He has mentored and coached and helped people all over the world. And I'm really excited to just jump into this show. I think you guys are going to get a lot of value from what Matt has to say today. So Matt, welcome to the podcast today. And do you want to just tell people a little bit about yourself before we get into the kind of the meat of what we're getting into today?
Man, I don't know how I can follow up what you just said. That's pretty much it. Thanks, folks. Have a great day.
Podcast done.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I think besides all the stuff you already said, and of course, folks can check me out on my website. Cheap shot, but there it is right there.
There you go.
So, all the details are there. But and the biggest thing for me is that I love people. I always have. I've always felt a call in my life to others. And I don't mean that it's some cheesy sounding kind of way. It's since I've been a kid, I felt that way. I felt like I've been called to reach the world, and I've had a lot of different opportunities to do that. There's no such thing as the internet when I grew up. So, coming into the internet has been quite fun and changed the way we can intersect with people in the world. So for me in coaching, consulting, being able to speak and share my story and other things with people around the world has been a blast. The thing of most recent in my life, the past 10 years or so, I have been battling cancer. The last 5 years at stage 4, my last brain surgery, which was just less than a year ago now, that I've had has been quite tumultuous in my life. It's been a rough time. It's been horrible on my family, on myself personally. There's been a lot of things that have gone through that. So I've learned a lot through this journey. I've shifted and done some things differently in my life. I've laid some things down. I've picked some things up, and in that process, I've been able to share some of those things in my journey with people that's ended up being helpful for them. So I figured, as long as I have life, as long as I have breath, then I may as well use what I've got to help somebody else. And that's really what I plan on doing. Whether I get hit by a bus today, or I die of cancer, or I live to be an old man, then my desire is to help somebody else.
That's awesome, man. And that's awesome. I think that's one of the reasons why I always just felt like, I don't know, this is going to sound cheesy, but just like a connection, and like anything I see that you post in on, whether it's LinkedIn or whatever, every time I see it, I'm like, come on, Matt. Cause I love what you're doing. Same thing with me, man, from the time I was young, and it sounds really weird. Cause I mean, I remember specifically, I was like 11 years old, and I remember I want to impact the world, and I didn't know any of the 11-year-olds that were talking like that. And so, it's always cool to meet people that have always felt that way. But one of the things I want to really dive into, and we all go through different let's say tragedies or trauma and challenges in our life to varying degrees. And obviously with what you said, stage 4 brain surgery and all that. I mean, that's pretty extreme. But we all go through stuff. And I'm sure you look at other people and think, God, I could never go through that. And other people can look at you going, God, I can never go what you go through. But we all go through our own version of hell, if you want to use that term, where you just, God, how do you do that? And what I'd love to for you to just chat through is, how have you just kept going to not only run a very successful business with what you do, but also maintaining, all of the not only normal family stuff that we all have to deal with, but also managing their emotions and stuff, because I'm sure it hasn't been easy for your family, not knowing what's going to happen with, husband Matt, dad Matt, all that kind of stuff. And then just you. How do you get through all that stuff, man? I'd love for you to just share that and give some value to people around that stuff.
Yeah, it's a tough one to answer. First and foremost, I'm a follower of Jesus. So if it weren't for him and for the Bible, things that I've learned, church family, that influence in my life, I really, I don't know where I would be. I don't know if I would be here. I was supposed to be dead many times already just from cancer. And, it's been, whether people want to give credit to medicine or doctors or God, I give it all to him. But, there's been many times where it could have been by my own hand that I would have been taken out of this planet.
Yeah.
It's happened to me, not like a long time ago. Like it's been not too long ago since I felt that way. But I've had other things that have been at the forefront besides my faith. One, I've been married, this year will be 32 years of marriage. And then my children are younger. So I've got a 13-year-old, my youngest, 17-year-old, my oldest. And then we have a godson in college who's 21. But I think the biggest thing for me, because I'm passionate about legacy, is it's one thing if I died of cancer. It's another thing if I took my own life. And to give up like that in the midst of a journey and a battle because of the pain I was in, the frustration, all the types of emotions that you could possibly imagine somebody would go through with something like I've been going through. I couldn't imagine making my children look at their father and think everything he said was a lie. Everything he said was nothing, because in the end he killed himself. And I just can't live with that, right? So I think my children were a big motivation in that. I love my wife, don't get me wrong, she's primary in my life, but my children, to think about the legacy of their father, I have to fight. I have to fight, and I have to make it through this thing for them to see how it's possible to overcome. Now, obviously, they're teenagers, so some of it they could give a rip about, right? And some of it's like, whatever, dad, that's just dad. They don't understand certain things or value me in certain ways at this point in their lives. But, when they're 25, 35, 45, 55, right, whatever, they'll think completely differently about the experience that they knew that their dad was going through and what their dad did. So to me, it's about holding on to those things. So for me, it's a lot about legacy.
Yeah, that's awesome. And legacy is key. And I think a lot of times people wait. I'll just say what I was going to say. I think a lot of people kind of wait too long to think about legacy. They get into maybe their 60s or 70s, but looking at how you actually create legacy now, I think actually can help formulate kind of the direction that you go in with stuff. So that's awesome, man. In terms of like key kind of things that you've put into place, like checkpoints almost, that have helped you continue to maintain and move forward. I'd love for you to kind of give some pointers around people that have gone through stuff. And it could be a divorce, it could be bankruptcy, it could be cancer, things that they're going through that you have and still going through. It could be business failure. It could be feeling like you're failure as a parent, whatever. What are one or two things that have helped you to maintain your focus and not go, okay, let me focus on the negative, the bad stuff, or what you feel like you failed in, or the trauma that's going on in your life? Because man, that's a quick rabbit hole people can go down. So what are some tips and techniques that you've done for you?
To realize, first of all, we're all naturally born negative people. We are the most negative of all. I think we're the most negative species on planet Earth. So to be negative is normal. That'll really win a lot of favor here on the show today. Being negative is normal. True. It is true. But to be positive takes work. And it's possible to get to where positivity is easier, but it does take work. And it's not always easy to make some positive choices in the midst of negativity, especially when you're feeling despair, distraught, failure, fear. All those types of things come into factor with things like a divorce or cancer or lost your business or whatever. I've gone through all of those things. And for me, I realized that pain is pain. You know, 'cause a lot of people say, well, man, you brought it up earlier, right? I don't know if I could go through what you've been going through and blah, blah. Well, I hope you never do, first of all. But secondly, I've been through the other stuff too, and they all suck. So at the end of the day, it
Yeah.
all sucks, right? So it's like, how do we get through it all, no matter what, right? So those things are one, to remain positive, because I know also as a cancer patient that as soon as you go negative in the fight for life as a person who's fighting cancer, you will die. I mean, we have a choice whether we live or die in many cases in scenarios like that. And when you give up, you're done. You will die. I mean, I literally right now, in my battle, I could probably just go lay in this bed over here, stop taking all of my medications, and within a period of time, I will die. It's just the way it'll happen. My body will shut down and I'll be dead.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can make a choice, but I choose not to. Again, legacy is the reason why. So, what are some of those things that you have, and write it down on a list? What are some of those things that are worth living for? Some people think, I've got nothing to live for. Nobody cares about me. Nobody loves me. Oh, whatever. Nobody likes me. Nobody loves me. I think I'll eat a worm, right? So it feels like that.
Yeah.
But in reality, there's always something that's going to be good out there. There's always something that's going to be positive, and there's always a way to find it. You just have to be willing to get through the mess for a minute and write it down and say, what are those things? And then fight for some of that stuff, right? Find some ways that something's worth fighting for. If you find something worth fighting for in your life, you're gonna make progress. So it takes a lot of work. It takes determination and discipline. I think time management is priority, to be a good steward of your time, and these go synonymously in accountability in your life. There is no such thing as a Lone Ranger. I don't know some folks that know that story. I'm an old guy, and maybe not everybody across the world does, but there used to be a show on television in the United States of America back in the 50s and 60s, some in the 70s, which was called the Lone Ranger. He was a cowboy, right? He used to be a Texas Ranger. All of his mates were killed except him. He was the Lone Ranger. But the thing about the Lone Ranger is he had Tonto. He had a sidekick, his Indian pal, right? So no one goes it alone. Even Jesus didn't send anybody out and say, okay, Matt, hope it works for you. No, he even had people that went by twos. He always assigned two people to go do something together. So there's value in accountability and having somebody in your life that can hold your feet to the fire, who can encourage you, and who can call you on your expletive.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I love that. I shared this with you briefly months ago. I was in a plane crash back in, it's been 19 years ago, just over 19 years ago now. And I remember, feeling alone, like no one knows what I'm going through or anything like that. And there was a guy, like I was in my earliest 20s, I was 20s, I was 22. And there was a guy that I knew for ages. We grew up, he was about a year or two younger than me. And we'd gone out to the movies one night, and we were coming back, and he was going through a really challenging time in his life. His parents were divorcing, and it was just really challenging. And we were in the car, and I remember telling him, his name is James. So James, if you listen to this, shout out to you, man.
James.
Yeah, James. So we were sitting there, and I just said to him, I said, you know what, man, we're both going through stuff. It's different stuff. We're both going through stuff. I said, let's just be brothers through this, and work, just work with each other and help each other. And it was amazing, man. We just, for literally, it was probably 6 months, maybe in a year, man. It felt like we just did everything together after that. And it's not like we had these big long conversations about what are you going through and thing. It was just, we were like brothers in arms, and we just knew we were there to support each other. And I think what you said around that accountability, there is always someone there, and it's easy to go, oh, there's no one there, I'm alone, no one's here to help me or support me. And if that's what you're focusing on, you'll completely let those people that are around you to support you go by, because you won't recognize it, you won't look at. But if you just look up and actually see it, man, there's people around you. And I think that's really powerful to be able to do that. So that's awesome, man. What about with your business? What to be able to continue forward with business and helping other people and all that while you're going through these struggles? What sorts of things have you learned through that process?
Yeah. Well, a lesson I learned a long time ago when I was in the radio business. I was an on-air personality and a salesperson for radio. And I don't know if anybody ever here has ever thought about trying to sell radio, but of course, today's world's quite different, but to sell a radio ad, it's a non-tangible, doesn't exist. It's air. I mean, that's why it's called air time, right? So it's like, you can't touch it, you can't take it home, you can't play with it, you can't cuddle it. It's air, literally. And there's people that sell air for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and it's tough, right? So the one thing I learned about that in my life back then is consistency sells. And it's a matter of being consistent and persistent. And there are many times where I've wanted to give up. And a lot of times I felt as if nobody's listening, nobody cares, it's not making the impact or difference that I was hoping it would make, blah, 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 whatever, fill in the blanks. If you stop, then you're right. It goes nowhere, it does nothing. But if you're consistent, I'd rather be consistently wrong and work at getting better than be a consistent stopper, a consistent failure. Not that failure is a bad thing, but to quit all the time, that's not a good thing, right? So being consistent and persistent with something, no matter what it feels like, no matter how loud the voices may be, and chances are the voice inside your head is much louder than the voices coming at you to say, oh, Matt, just stop it, just quit. Don't do this. Oh, it's not working. That's just horrible, right? Most people don't call you up to say that. Most people don't. Now, if your accountability and very close friends are saying that, like all of them, then it might be something to the story. But at the end of the day, you have to be consistent, tenacious, passionate about what you do, believe in who you are, believe in what you're doing. And if you do, then anything worth paying a price for is worth doing.
Yeah, man, that's anything worth doing. It's worth that price, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. Cool. Well, listen, it's the Atomic Impact podcast, so it's shorter episodes, just those impact moments. I could go on and ask you questions forever, man, and just chat with you. I think you've got so much value to add. But you've already plugged your website there, but plug it again, man. How can people find you? How can they connect with you? Because you're an awesome man, and I want people to connect with you.
I appreciate that so much, Jason. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm a big LinkedIn guy, so I have content that comes out every day on LinkedIn. If people want to hear some of my content, my stories, my series stuff that I do, I'm doing one on trauma right now. Don't know when this will air, but it was, what is this? What month is this? It's February. So February 2021 now. I have got a series on trauma. There'll be something else coming after that one. But anyway, LinkedIn's a great place to find me, a great place to network and communicate with me. And then, of course, my website, which is by my name, mattcrump.tv. People think, you got a TV station? No, .com was taken. It was like $10,000 to buy the name. So I thought TV sounded cool, so I got .tv. So you can find me at mattcrump.tv, and all my info there about who I am, what I do, my coaching, consulting business, my backstories, different things I have available, resources, cancer information, resources for people fighting terminal diseases. I've got things on there for people that need some hope in their lives. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff on there that's beneficial to folks if you want to go to their site. That's how you can engage with me pretty much on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Definitely anyone listening to this, go check out Matt. Go to his LinkedIn. Matt produced some amazing content on LinkedIn, but definitely check him out. He's an amazing man, amazing guy doing some amazing things, leaving a legacy, which is awesome. So listen, Matt, thanks so much for being on the Atomic Impact podcast. And I know that people will listen to this and get inspired and hopefully have hope. I'm just saw that above your head, hope revealed, to have it back in their life.
That's my podcast stuff. My podcast is called Hope Revealed.
Yeah, man. Awesome. Matt, thanks so much, man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate you having me today.
Cheers, man. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Atomic Impact Podcast. And as a reminder, please go to www.impactforleads.com to get free access to my LinkedIn mini course to help you get on the right track with LinkedIn to generate high quality leads without being spammy. And please also like and share this episode with others and leave a comment, as I'd love to hear from you. This is Jason Osborne, and I look forward to sharing the next episode of the Atomic Impact Podcast with you.